Welcome to the Heidi Thorne Show. I'm your host, Heidi Thorne, and in this podcast, I share my real-world self-publishing and small business experience with you. So let's get started with today's show. Almost everyone in the world, I think I've seen estimates of as high as 80% of people want to write a book. But not everyone can or should. And sometimes those who can't or shouldn't want to get writers and authors to help them realize their book writing dreams. So have you received any of these? I'll give you some real life examples. Now, just to set the tone for this podcast, I suggest that you cue up The Impossible Dream, also known as The Quest, which has been covered by everyone from Sinatra to Elvis to all kinds of artists. So pick your favorite and let's begin. A fellow author in an online forum had been approached by a family whose child had been miraculously cured by some drug therapy. So they approached the author about writing a book about their journey with this miracle drug. And of course, they told the author they have no money. Now, she thought she might be able to make sales, or the book might be able to make sales, but she was wondering how to structure the contract to make sure she got paid. I received an inquiry from a person who was very anxious to write their autobiography because their health was failing, never written a book before, but hoped to get it done right away with maybe some volunteer help. Some years back, I was contacted by a meditation, spirituality, holistic living coach, consultant, I don't know what. But she desperately wanted to have a phone conversation with me about her book project. And the book project was as fuzzy as the description of her business. And I was also pretty fuzzy on what she exactly wanted me to do. But I'll tell you one thing that was crystal clear was that she wanted my help for free because I believed in her mission or agenda. Another author, this one actually could write her own book. She had survived a life-threatening illness, and she wanted to self-publish her memoir about the whole experience and how the songs of a very popular performer had inspired her recovery. She wanted to also include the song lyrics in the book. She also hoped to connect with this popular performer to get his support for the book. Then there was the woman who had overcome a lot of personal struggles, and she wanted to share her journey with the world in a book. She had no writing skills whatsoever, so she wanted me to meet with her weekly to dictate her thoughts and ideas and story to me. I would then put that into a book that she would self-publish, and then I would receive a share of the self-publishing royalties. Have you gathered that these are all impossible dreams? If you haven't, rewind and re-listen. These folks have a lot of big dreams. They also overestimate the market value of their contribution to the world, and they underestimate the amount of investment that these books take to bring to market. They also underestimate the value that writers and authors bring to their book projects. What's worth noting here is the ease with which I could recall multiple examples. So it happens pretty often. And if you're an author or writer, you no doubt have been approached by someone at some point to do one of these types of projects. So before you get trapped into one of these book projects, here's what you need to know. There are a host of legal issues with these impossible dream books. They're often memoirs or biographies, autobiographies, and the legal issues would include libel, slander, defamation, disclaimers, privacy rights, copyrights. It goes on and on. And those issues could land the dreamer and anyone associated with the project, like you, in court. Now, personally, I refuse to work on any memoir or biography projects. If you decide to wander in this territory, you definitely need some legal advice about how to handle the myriad of media liability issues that you're going to face with it. And you're also going to want to make sure that you have that attorney help draw up a contract between you and the dreamer so that you get paid and all the rights and responsibilities are laid out in case there's any future claims about the book. The other thing that gets messy with these is you have to wonder who's the author. Some of these dreamers think that if they name you, the ghostwriter or editor, who's doing most of the work, if they name you as co-author, that'll be enough as compensation. Not in my book. I've found that these dreamers often don't know they need a ghostwriter. They think their stories are self-evident, that all it needs is a little tweaking from you, and ta-da, it's done. So they just define what they need from you as quote-unquote help. Sorry, dreamers, your book is a massive project. I had to explain this to one of the dreamers, that ghostwriting was what she really needed, and that ghostwriters can charge well into the tens of thousands of dollars for their services. And again, just harking back to the conversation we just had on legal issues, the copyright ownership of the book needs to be clearly defined in any contract you have with these dreamers. So am I just a cold-hearted, money-driven writer? Well, I might be. But I have to remember, I'm not a charity. And why is it my duty to donate my time, talent, treasure to anyone who asks? Let's explore why these dreamers would even consider imposing on you, along with some perspective to help you address these requests. Dreamers who are strangers may feel that because of their mission or suffering, that everyone or anyone should be on board with whatever they want to do. As a random writer that they don't know, I'm not part of that story. There's nothing in this for me unless I believe in their cause, and more importantly, I want to donate my time and energy to it. Otherwise, these requests are a big no for me. The most problematic of these requests often come from family and friends. They figure that the help you are providing is the same as other help or favors you offer them as part of your regular relationship. They may also guilt you into this with, if you love me, here's where you need to become a source of publishing education for a dreamer. Hey, dreamer. If you knew there was a 73% chance you wouldn't make more than $100 to $1,000 a year on your book and maybe sell a maximum of a couple hundred copies over the entire life of your book, would you still do it? Then you have to remember that you're going to split any money that you earn from your book with me. By the way, I didn't pull those dollar figures out of the air. That's income data from 2 surveys that I've run of self-published author income data in 2016 and 2018. But you have to question, what do book dreamers really want? In my opinion, I think these book dreamers want attention and recognition. They want to have their egos and experiences validated by the world. And often it's under the guise of helping other people with their story. Some of these people are just delusional, thinking that famous people, the TV talk shows, and the media will automatically and immediately be interested in featuring or promoting their story and cause. Don't they understand that the media and these celebrities are bombarded with hundreds, maybe thousands of requests like this for their time, attention, and support? Some of that is just these dreamers' ignorance of how media and publishing works. Now, the case of the author who wanted to get the performers support and permission for her book, perfect example of this. She thought that if she could just get a personal audience with the performer, he would be on board with her book. Well, that's not how this works. That's one of those have your attorney call my attorney situations. When I explained that, she still didn't seem to really believe that, or didn't want to believe that, I should say. Here's another thing at issue here. These dreamers don't really want to do or don't understand how to do marketing of their book. So they believe that if they get some famous person to back their project or the media to support it or feature it, that they're going to sell a ton of books. Not the case. As I've ranted about over and over again, you need an author platform, which is your fan base, to make book sales. And I'm going to bet that most dreamers don't have it. Here's another thing that I've had to explain to some of these dreamers, is that they need to think outside the book. Some of these dreamers say that they want to share their story with the world. Honestly, I think underneath it all, they want money more than that. But let's just take them at their word for the moment. A book is the worst way to get your message to the world at large. The problem with this is that books have a lot of competition. And I'm not just talking about self-published books. I'm talking about traditionally published books too. There's a ton of competition, and people have to buy the book to get that message. Sometimes what I suggest to these dreamers is that they do something that isn't a book to get their story into the world. Blogs, podcasts, videos, social media. And I know that if that suggestion isn't palatable to the dreamer, that they really didn't want to get their story out into the world. They really were just looking for money. So I hope I've given you some perspective on these book proposals for when you receive them. If you did find this helpful, please rate, review, and subscribe to The Heidi Thorne Show on whatever podcast platform you like to use. I'm on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Podbean. If you like the YouTube video podcast better, that's great. You just have to subscribe to my Heidi Thorne YouTube channel and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss an alert on a new video. If you would share this video with your author friends on social media, that would be great. My self-published books are available on Amazon, Audible, and Apple Books. All you have to do is search for my name, Heidi Thorne, and my author page will come up and you'll see all the books that are available there. If you'd like to connect with me, my website is very simply HeidiThorne.com. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. I'll look forward to talking with you again in the next episode, and in the meantime, have a great day.